So talking about Overwatch competitive players, why they hate ranked, may be a bit confusing to some of you guys, especially if you haven't played way too much Overwatch competitive yourself. If you're just watching from the outside, it might be a bit confusing why people seem to just always complain about the game mode that they play the most. You might be wondering to yourself, why don't you just go to quick play? Why don't you just go to arcade? But to a lot of people, that's just not as fulfilling. To a lot of people, competitive is the only way to get their fix and to get their hunger out for winning games, and for winning games that mainly seem to matter to them a lot. Of course, to a lot of players, playing quick play and arcade is good enough, and I'm not going to say that's not good enough. You can play however you want to play. Today I want to tell you guys why it just seems like so often competitive players hate competitive mode, even though they just happen to play it so much. Kind of contradictory in itself, but yeah, a lot of people do this. Now, to just begin, I want to say that in the past, I feel like it wasn't nearly as bad, mainly because the competitive mode didn't really exist for nearly as long. As time has gone on though, people have found more things to dislike, and here's the first thing that I feel like people have started to dislike a lot. And that's the fact that in competitive, people really want to try. People really want to get good, people want to climb, people want to put in effort to go all the way from the bottom to the top. But as we've gotten more and more in the seasons, it feels like less and less people actually are trying their best. It feels like less and less people are actually trying to win, and it feels like less and less people actually want to help their teammates win the game. And that's very frustrating to play in. If you're a player that wants to put in 100% effort, or I guess 90%, or at least 80% effort, put in a lot of time and try to go up in the ranks, and if you have teammates that aren't agreeing with you, that are still in the same mode that you're in, it's extremely frustrating. If you've gone through a lot of games and people just throw those games, that can be the most frustrating thing in the world, because you're trying to accomplish something for yourself. You're trying to climb up for yourself. You're trying to make yourself win. And maybe even if you aren't the best player in the world, at least you're trying your best. But when you have other players that are trolling, that are doing all this other crap, or that are even just not trying nearly as hard as you think they should be, I feel like that can be very frustrating, because in general, competitive mode is meant to be competitive in, to try your best in, to try to improve in the most. But as time goes on, it seems like less and less and less players are trying to go for this. Now, another thing that I feel like has happened as time goes on is that people as well seem to not really care as much about your rank. And while this shouldn't matter, while you shouldn't care at all about what other people think, I feel like that kind of makes people dislike the ranked mode and not really want to play it way too much. A great thing about ranked in the past, and in really every game, is that you can kind of show it to people, say how well you've done, say from where you started to where you ended, and show the great journey and kind of talk about it, and, you know, kind of hope to impress people, let's be honest. You know, it's not something that you should do, but it's something that a lot of people want to do, and something that makes them really enjoy the game, because they can show just how, you know, good they've gotten, and just how much work they've put in, and really feel like they've actually done something and show that to someone else. However, as the seasons have gone on, it seems like less and less people seem to really care at all, unless you've gotten to like bronze to grandmaster. Anything less than that, it means nothing. And I feel like that's something that does hurt the game quite a bit. A great thing about competitive is, again, being able to show it off to people, to be able to tell people your grand journey, as I've been saying. Again, it shouldn't be a thing that you have to do, but it's something that a lot of people do like to indulge in, do like to just go in with. But if nobody seems to really care anymore, if nobody seems to want to listen, it can make you feel like it's all for naught. It can make you feel like the grind is completely worthless, and as well, it can put an insane amount of pressure to reach the top echelon, the top 2 or 3%. You have to reach that, otherwise all your work is completely useless. That can put a lot of pressure on people, and overall, make people hate the game quite a bit. Being forced to play 100% every single game can be fun, but as well, being kind of criticized for not winning every single game, while even putting in all your effort and while even doing well, it's something that can definitely make you dislike the game, and in some cases, hate the game, and especially quit competitive. And of course, the final thing that can make players hate competitive is simply disliking the current meta that they're in. A lot of people don't really seem to realize this, but a lot of people just don't like playing the game in a meta that they don't enjoy. Personally, I really enjoy Reinhardt, slow pushes up, you know, Reinhardt versus Reinhardt, I guess, and just going on from there. That's the meta that I personally like the most, a 2-2-2, and I'll play a ton of competitive in that. But I personally really hate dive comp. I feel like it's very boring. I feel like you just do the same thing over and over again, jump on them. There's not really way too much that you can innovate in. It's just kind of very similar every single time. You know, sometimes you can hide maybe, sometimes you can engage a little bit late or a little bit early. That's about it, and it gets pretty boring for me. While others really like this. But what I'm trying to get my point across is that a lot of players just hate the current meta that's going on. And it's kind of hard for Blizzard to please every single player, because some people like certain metas, some people hate different metas. and it's something that you're just going to kind of have to go through. And if you've been hearing a player complain about the current meta that they're playing in, just tell them to calm down, just tell them to continue. But yeah, it definitely is something that I feel like a lot of people kind of get stuck up on, and a lot of people just kind of dislike ranked because the current meta, even though it's not really the game's problem, it's just kind of what the meta's going on with. Yeah, it's a reason why a lot of people hate it, and a reason why a lot of people just kind of quit for a few seasons. So if you do see a friend that just happened to randomly, let's say, quit in season 5, that might be the reason why. But at least in my own opinion, those are the main things to why people don't really like ranked so much, even though they are playing ranked a ton. Of course, again, as well, is a little bit contradictory, as I was saying at the beginning, but something that you will see quite often, that you will see a lot of people complain about. And if you have your own experiences, please leave them in the comment section down below. I want to hear as much as I possibly can, as I love talking to you guys. As well, if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to see any more in the future. As always, guys, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful day.